In the last lesson, we looked at how to get the information we needed to complete our GST component of our BAS statement. So the BAS statements do have multiple things in them that you might be required by the ATO to provide, and that might be PAYG or other things as well. But we're really only focusing on the GST in this course at this point in time. So that's what we'll deal with. So just to recap, I do have a report here that I've already printed out. So we did the same process as in the previous exercise. We went to accounting and then went down to tax report, and we generated this tax report. Now these numbers might vary depending on your system and what you've done so far. You may have made extra purchases, you may have created extra sales just to play around with that. That's absolutely fine. In this particular system, this is what the BAS statement numbers are, but they may differ in yours, so just be aware of that. What we'll do first is we'll have a look at, we're in the accounting module, and the first thing we need to do, let's just go and have a look at our chart of accounts for a second. And if I put GST in the search, I can search for an account with GST in the word, and I can see I've got two accounts here. One's for GST collected, and one's for GST paid. So when we've made a purchase, then we would have paid GST, and that gets recorded in the GST paid one. When we've made a sale and when we've collected GST, that one goes into the collected. So these are where the sources of our the money that we either owe or are owed to the tax office, to or from the tax office. So in this case, we can see we've got some values in there. What we really should do, there's a couple of ways to do this, and it might be worth having a talk to your accountant about the right way that they would like you to set it up. Well, there is no right. There's multiple right ways. It's just a preferred way, I suppose, is a better way to phrase it. Let me get rid of this filter down. Now we go back to our full list of 107 accounts. What we need to consider here is that let's just have, what I want to do first is turn on the receivable accounts and payable accounts. So these accounts are for when money comes in, they're receivable, or when money goes out, they're payable. So sometimes in some systems, and you're quite welcome to rename these if you prefer the terms, but these are accounts payable and accounts receivable here. And as I said, you're quite welcome to rename these accounts to something that means more to you. These are just the names that are given when the system's installed. You can change them. So I'll go back and let's just have another look at those GST ones, and we can see that they are current liability and current assets. So the GST paid is an asset because we've already paid out money to the government. So, paid out money to a supplier that will then owe that to the government. So that can see as an asset. And then things we collected, we've got that money, but it's a liability because it's not ours, it's someone else's, it's the tax officer's. So it's a liability, the other one's an asset. If we go back to the payable ones, which I'll turn payable and receivable, we need something like this. We can use these accounts if we like, but I think it's sometimes better to create a separate account for when we receive money back from the ATO, we put it somewhere, or when we need to give money to the ATO, we put it somewhere. It's not really a trade thing. It's really outside, because this is your normal trade accounts. So it may be worth setting up a couple of extra accounts just to handle that. So I hope all that made sense, but what I'm going to do is create some extra accounts here. So the first one I'm going to create, I'm going to give it a code of 11202. Again, as long as the entire code is unique, you'll be fine. But the this is I'm going to call it a BAS receivable. And its type is going to be a receivable. And I'm going to allow the reconciliation because we're going to need that. So that's our first one done, and it's as you see, it's almost identical to this trade debtor, but because it's a receivable account, but this is going to be money received from the government. And we'll create another one. So save and then create, and then 21202. And I'm going to call this, BAS payable, and it's going to be payable, and allow reconciliation there. So there's my two new accounts created, and I'll be able to use these in when we sort out our GST. So now that we've done that, and if you recall that from the tax report, we've got some tax that we've collected and then some tax that we've already paid out, and we need to enter that information into the system. So let's go to, we're going to create a journal entry for this. We're going to create a new one. And what we'll do here is from the account, we're going to say GST collected is going to be how much? Well, it's 25.17. Now, if you recall from the previous lesson too, that the tax office only works in whole dollars. So we're not going to put in the 17 cents, we're just going to call it 25 in this case. So we've got $25 there. We add a line. Now this is GST paid, and that is $125. So all we need to do is go in there and put a 1 in front of that, and we'll add another line now. So as you can see, this automatically does the calculation saying, well, that minus that gives you $100, and that's going to be a debit, it's going to be a refund. So we need somewhere to put that, and that's where these BAS accounts come into play. So if I was receiving money from the government, I'd put in receivables. If I had to pay money to the government, I'd put in payables. It's pretty much as simple as that. And I tried to make this nice and simple for us. So given that we're going to get a refund, I'm going to say this is a receivable. And now that that's done, we can post that entry and we're good to go. So that now means that creating those journal entries is create that take the money out of our collected, and take money out of the paid journals, the accounts, and then it's created a new entry for our $100 that we're going to get back from the government. So what do we do now? Let's have a look at our bank statements, and if we instead of importing, I think we'll just create a new one on the fly. So I'll create one. It automatically updates with the correct starting balance there. We'll add a line. It's got today's date, and I'm going to call this BAS refund. Could call it GST refund if you wanted to. And the amount was, we're going to plus $100. And that means we've got a new value down here. So all I need to do is just change that to A2, and we're done. So now we can post this too. So now we're doing this you probably don't need to do because you're going to get it from your bank. But in order to finish the exercise, I'm going to create this statement manually. just for the sake of completeness. So we'll save that and post it too, which I forgot to do. And now we can go back to our dashboard, and I see I've got one item to reconcile. So I can click on this one item to reconcile, and I can see that there is a $100 in the bank statement that I need to match with some payment we've made, and it has correctly picked out that $100 that we created in that journal. So I'm going to select that one, validate. We get the smiley face, so everything's good. We go back, and now a new value has been updated, and new bank balance is updated with the refund that we got back from the government. So I will that should cover that lesson. So just to recap, we in a previous lesson we saw how to collect the information that was required in our GST component of the BAS statement, and we're able to pay that to via the bank. And now we've recorded that information into the system by creating a couple extra a couple of extra accounts there, so that we had somewhere to put the money if we got a refund, and somewhere to take the money out of if we've got a debt to pay. And we saw how we could deal with the difference between what we've already paid out and what we've already had come in through our sales. So I hope all that makes sense, and I will see you on the next one.